as a Romanian, I do understand that lawsuits are an American tradition. There is nothing more conservative in the United States of America than lawsuits. You can obviously sue anyone, even a bologna sandwich, for anything. That doesn't mean you're going to win. And the reason that they have so many lawsuits is that they do things a little bit different than the way we're doing it here in Europe. In most countries here in Europe, if you sue someone and you lose, you gotta pay up the damages because you actually did get another person to go to court. They have to hire a lawyer, they have to take time off, you probably inconvenience them. So if you sue someone in civil court and you lose, then you gotta cough up the cash. In America, it's not like that. They believe that everyone should have access to justice, so you can sue anyone for anything, and only if it's proven that you sued someone maliciously, then you have to pay in the damages, which is very difficult to prove. I think like one of the few cases that I know is Sargon of Akkad versus Aquila, obviously, who went on Twitter and said that the reason she is suing is to get Sargon to shut up. So there are a couple of exceptions, but normally you can sue anyone for anything, right? So if you don't have to pay, as long as you have either access to a cheap lawyer, a lawyer friend, or a lot of cash, then you can definitely put someone through the process. So this is why I'm not surprised when I see just bewildering lawsuits that just don't make sense. Apparently, a man is suing a Mississippi Pizza Hut location, right? So he's suing the restaurant for alleged racial discrimination because apparently the driver that came up to his house did insurmountable emotional damage to the man by calling him the N-word. And usually when you hear something like that, you look at the calendar and you're like, this is 2024, like how is that possible? Like that is bizarre. Did they got in a fight or something? Did they got in an altercation? Like what is going on? And in this situation, we actually have video evidence, right? You got the man coming over, and he is saying, here's your pizza, please sign over here. And then the last moments of the clip are garbled, and it does seem as if he said the N-word. But what I find bizarre is the reaction of the gentleman. Like if this was the case, like the man just drops the word casually, right? Like he drops the word as he was born by different parents. And it doesn't really make sense because there's no altercation. There's no animosity. He just goes in there and it's like dropping the latest rap album. And the reason that I find it bizarre is that the person who's experiencing this emotional trauma doesn't go like, what did you say? Like, could you repeat that? Because from the conversation, it can be interpreted as if he said, like, can you sign over here? But because of the audio of the DoorDash, you could mishear it. But you know what? Fine. Let's assume that he actually said it. Let's assume that he is the only white person in America that just goes to random people's houses, dropping the N-word. Maybe he's mentally insane. I don't know how he manages to survive while behaving this manner. Again, I don't live in the United States. Like, you guys tell me, if you're going around acting like you're Eddie Murphy while you're a Caucasian, is that healthy for you? Is that something that people do? Because I generally don't know. Like, I'm terminally online. I only get to experience online culture. But I have a feeling that in America, like, people don't just go around, especially if you're a delivery driver, so you're delivering all day, and you just drop the N-bombs like it's 1942. I don't know. But let's assume that this guy did it, okay? Let's assume beyond a shadow of a doubt that this guy did it. So now you're suing the restaurant, right? You're not suing the guy. You're suing the restaurant. And you want the restaurant to take responsibility and implement changes that prevent future incidents. How? No, unironically, like how would you be able to do that? Oh, the restaurant needs to hire grifters, right? Like it needs to hire people that slaved under the yoke of the American academia, under their plump gender studies professor, and they learned how to manipulate and mind control people so that it turns their employees into drones that have no mind and no will of their own. So when they go out there, they're incapable of committing racism. No, seriously, like, how can you do this? No, think about it this way, right? Like, you got a business, and you hire 5 people. Now, once you hire the person, You can't really mind control them. Like, you can't puppeteer them like a sock puppet. If the person wants to do racismus, you can punish them for doing it, right? Like, you can fire them afterwards. You can make an example out of them by posting it on social media. But you physically cannot prevent them unless you gag them. Like unless you put that mask from the Silence of the Lambs on their face as they're serving the customers and they're physically incapable of speaking. Like, unless it's like some horror freak show where you sew their mouths shut so that they don't speak any words, just in case they may actually commit the act of racismus. But other than that, like, even if they have like 6 police officers jumping on them and holding them in handcuffs, as long as they can flap their mouth, they can still commit racism. So I don't know, like, what do you expect the company to do in order to prevent people from speaking words? You can take them to all the anti-racist seminars. You can summon Nancy Pelosi herself and AOC and you can lecture them nonstop. You can get Robin DiAngelo to have like 25 seminars. You can force them into the American academia. But at the end of the day, I know this is bizarre, but a human being still has free will. And if he wants to commit the vile act of racismus, he can still do it. So there's nothing that the company can do in order to prevent this from happening. Now it can hire grifters. It can spend like probably hundreds, if not millions of dollars. Like some companies do that. They spend millions of dollars on hiring all these grifters, and then the price of the pizza goes up, much to the shock and dismay of the customer, right? Because that money, it's not going to come out of their profits. They're just going, instead of making the pizza better, instead of making the pizza larger, they're just going to increase the cost on it, so that they can hire some person that comes up and goes like, don't be racist, racism bad, racism evil, don't be racist, okay, check your privilege, blah, blah, blah. And they force their employers to sit like 2 or 4 hours through that. But again, like at the end of the day, they still cannot physically dominate, like the domination spell from Dungeons and Dragons doesn't exist yet. They can't cast Gias on their employees. So if someone wants to do this, they can still do it. Again, like if they were to sue and ask that the company fires this guy, like that is possible. That is plausible. You can actually physically do that. Like a company can terminate the contract with the employee after the fact. But if you want the company in the future to prevent this from happening, they physically cannot. Like it is actually impossible. Well, I mean, unless, I don't know, they do surgery and remove the vocal cords of their employees or something, right? Like maybe like that. That's what they want? Is that what it means? Jesus. And then it's also, the fact that it's the company's responsibility. Like, this is the culture that leftists want in society because they don't understand principles. Like, they look at this event and they're tunnel visioning this and they don't realize that they're creating principles. And what they want is that when a person works for a company, they sell their soul to the company. Because if the company is responsible for what the employee does, then the company will actually have to stalk the employee on social media, to stalk the employee in his private time, to do background checks. It's not like, can this guy deliver pizza? Like, can this guy travel effectively through the rush hour to get the pizza at the door on time? It's like, no. What are his politics? What does he think about the situation in Israel and Palestine? Does he have like the correct thoughts on the new presidential election? Like, what are his bumper stickers on his car? And then maybe we can look at his family as well. Like, well, what is his wife doing? Is she sharing any dangerous memes online? Like these people crave the Soviet Union. They crave Nazi Germany. Like they want that culture. They look at Benito Mussolini's Italy with envy, and it's like, well, why can't we have that here? And again, like the person doing the lawsuit, they don't think like, maybe you have a job as well? Like maybe you're going to have an employer? Is this how you want to live? Again, like they're not suing the guy, right? Like they're not suing the guy that did the racismus. They're suing the company that hired the guy. And like the company wasn't even there. Like that, it's not like his boss was behind him. And even if his boss was behind him, like what do you want the boss to do? Like he can't physically stop the person from speaking unless, I guess, like gags him, puts his hand over his mouth and goes, is that? And honestly, I don't think he said the word. I generally don't think he said the word based on the reaction that the person had. Like if the person actually thought that they heard the word, they would have asked like, "What did you say? What did you tell me?" But it's up to you. I guess people who watch the video can make up their own mind. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.